welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into the story of Achillesaurus. It's a dinosaur with a name that, well, it definitely makes you curious.
It really does.
We've got the original scientific paper, the one announcing it, and its Wikipedia page, which kind of sums up the research since then.
Right.
Our mission really is to unpack what makes Achillesaurus tick, why it's more than just a cool name, and why scientists are still talking about it.
Exactly. We're working with, well, fragments, a few bones that have actually kicked off some pretty big questions about dinosaur evolution and, how science itself works. It's about refining ideas over time.
Achillesaurus. Okay. The name, it jumps right out. Greek hero, the heel. It can't just be a random choice, right? There's a reason.
Oh, absolutely. It's very deliberate. The paleontologists who described it back in 2006, they definitely have anatomy in mind.
Yeah.
The key things that define this group, the Alvarezsaurids, they're really noticeable in the foot bones, sort of the heel area, you could say.
Ah, so the Achilles heel is where the important scientific clues are.
Precisely. It's a clever nod to where the diagnostic features are found.
That's great. Love a bit of scientific wordplay. And the second part, Manazone. Who does that refer to?
That's for Professor Raphael Manazone. He was a local amateur paleontologist.
Ah.
The team credited him specifically, saying his knowledge of the local fossils, the Patagonian terrain, was just invaluable during their fieldwork.
That's really cool. It shows how these big discoveries often involve, lots of people, not just the lead scientists, amateurs too.
It really does. That collaborative aspect is huge in paleontology.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Where and when are we talking about for Achillesaurus?
We need to go way back, Late Cretaceous period, specifically the Santonian age.
Which is roughly when?
Around 86 to 83 million years ago, give or take.
Wow. And geographically?
We're in modern-day Argentina, Rio Negro province, up in northern Patagonia. The specific rock layer is the Bajo de la Carpa Formation.
And that formation is important.
Yeah, it is. It's known for preserving a really diverse mix of late Cretaceous animals, so it gives us context, helps us picture the world Achillesaurus lived in.
Right. Puts it in its ecosystem.
Yeah.
So the discovery itself, how did these bones actually surface?
The main specimen, the holotype that's like the reference standard for the species.
Gotcha.
That was found back in 1995. It was a team from the Museo Argentino de Ciencias Naturales, Bernardino Rivadavia.
A big name in Argentinian science.
A very big name. And the expedition leader was Dr. Jose F. Bonaparte, who was, well, a giant in South American paleontology, found so many important things.
Okay. And the specimen has a designation.
It does. It's MACNPVRN 1116. That's its museum catalog number. Found at the Paso Cordova locality within that Bajo de la Carpa formation we mentioned.
So from that find, and ACN PVRN 1116, what did they actually have? What bones tell the story?
It wasn't a complete skeleton, unfortunately. More like a partial one.
Okay.
They found a sacral vertebra that's one of the fused ones in the hip area, 4 tail vertebrae, part of the left thigh bone, the femur, and then the lower leg bones, shin and fibula, plus some foot bones, also from the left side, and importantly, part of the left ilium, which is a hip bone.
So quite a few pieces, but all concentrated. Left leg, hip, some tail.
Exactly. And it's really crucial to remember everything we think we know about Achillosaurus, it's based just on those specific bones. The rest is educated guesswork, really.
A tantalizing glimpse, then. So how does it fit into the grand scheme of things, the dinosaur family tree? It's got a long list of classifications.
It certainly does, like its full address, Domain Eukaryota, Kingdom Animalia, Phylum Chordata, all the way down to Dinosauria.
Right, the big categories.
Then within dinosaurs, it's a Saurischian, the lizard-hipped kind, and within that, a theropod.
Which is the group with T-Rex and velociraptors and birds.
That's the one. Mostly meat-eaters, though not all. And then finally, genus Achillosaurus, species Achillosaurus manazoni.
And within the theropods, it's specifically an Alvarezsaurid. Tell us about that group.
Yes, an Alvarezsaurid. The original paper described Achillosaurus as being relatively large for an Alvarezsaurid and also quite basal.
Basal meaning?
Meaning it's kind of closer to the root of that particular family tree. It retains more primitive features compared to later, more derived Alvarezsaurids.
Yeah, okay. And what are Alvarezsaurids like in general?
They're a weird bunch. Mostly smallish theropods, very slender arms, often with just one big claw on each hand.
One claw, what for?
The main idea is maybe for digging into insect nests, termite mounds perhaps, a specialized diet.
Huh. Interesting. And our sources say Achillosaurus lived alongside another one, Alvarezsaurus.
That's right. They were contemporaries in the same formation, which, as we'll see, becomes quite important.
Okay, let's circle back to that name, the Achilles heel.
Hmm.
You said it's about diagnostic features in the foot. Can you expand on that? What's so special about alvarezsaurid feet?
Sure. When scientists look at alvarezsaurids, the foot bones, the metatarsals, those long bones in the middle, and the toe bones, the phalanges, they're really distinctive. They often have unique fusions, different proportions compared to other theropods. These features help define the group and also tell different species apart.
So specific shapes and connections.
Exactly. Things like how the ankle bones, the calcaneum, and astragalus fit together. It gives clues about how they moved, their evolutionary history. That whole heel area is packed with information.
And the specialized structure maybe help them run or dig.
Possibly both. The fused metatarsals, sometimes called an arctometatarsus, might suggest efficient running, but it could also strengthen the foot for digging or tearing into things. Seeing these features in Achillosaurus helps place it within that evolutionary story.
So the mythical weak spot is actually the key to its identity. Love it. But science being science, there's always another perspective, right?
Yeah.
Our sources mention some disagreement.
Yes, there is. In 2012, a different group of researchers, Makovicki, Apestadegria, and Giannichini, they put forward a different idea.
Okay, what do they suggest?
They proposed that Achillosaurus might actually be what's called a junior synonym of Alvarezsaurus.
Junior synonym, meaning?
Meaning they think it might not be a separate, distinct genus after all. They argue it could just be Alvarezsaurus.
On what grounds?
Their main points are, 1, it comes from the exact same geological formation as Alvarezsaurus. 2, they looked at the bones described for Achillosaurus and felt the differences compared to Alvarezsaurus were, in their words, trivial.
Trivial, so minor variations.
Essentially, yeah. They suggested maybe the differences are just natural variation you'd expect within a single species, or maybe it represents Alvarezsaurus individuals of a different age or size. Not enough, in their view, to warrant a whole new genus name.
Wow, okay, that really highlights how interpretation plays a role, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Same bones, different conclusions.
Absolutely. It shows science isn't static. It's a discussion, an ongoing evaluation of evidence. The original description by Martinelli and Vera in 2007 set the stage.
That was the Zootaxa paper.
That's the one. We can maybe put the DOI link somewhere if people want to see the original argument. But yeah, later research like the 2012 paper challenges that initial view. That's how progress happens.
So this whole debate, is Achillesaurus its own thing, or is it just Alvarezsaurus? Why does it actually matter? What difference does it make to the bigger picture?
Well, it matters quite a bit for understanding Alvarezsaurid diversity back then.
Oh, so?
If Achillosaurus is a distinct genus, it means you had more variety, more types of these specialized insect eaters running around in the same place at the same time in South America. It suggests a more complex local ecosystem and maybe a more intricate evolutionary branching for the group there.
Okay, more diversity.
Right. But if it turns out they're actually the same as Alvarezsaurus, then the picture becomes a bit simpler for that specific time and place.
Fewer distinct types running around.
Exactly. It might suggest that Alvarezsaurus itself was just a more variable species than previously thought. It also makes us think harder about how we define a genus based on sometimes subtle differences in fossils. So figuring this out helps refine our models of ancient ecosystems and evolution.
It's not just about the name, then. It's about understanding the richness and the relationships within that ancient world.
Precisely. Whether it's its own distinct hero or part of the Alvarezsaurus legend, it tells us something important.
Okay, let's try and wrap this up. What are the main things you think we should take away from our deep dive into Achillesaurus?
Well, we've got Achillesaurus identified as this quite large, relatively basal alvarezsaurid from late Cretaceous Argentina. We know its cool name points directly to important features in its foot anatomy.
The diagnostic bits.
Right. And while its discovery gives us really valuable clues about dinosaurs from that time and place, there's still this active scientific discussion. Is it truly its own genus, or is it maybe synonymous with Alvarezsaurus? That question is still open.
And that leads to a final thought, maybe. Here we have just a handful of bones, millions of years old, and they can spark this ongoing scientific debate. It makes you wonder, what other things that we think are settled in science might get reevaluated or completely overturned when new evidence pops up? It really underlines that science is always evolving, always questioning.
It absolutely does. The process of discovery is never really finished. There's always more to learn, more to question.
A great point to end on. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.